Welcome, everybody, to the Self-Improvement Podcast, where we talk about how every day you can be better, giving you the strategies to do so. And today I'm joined with
Ian
and John.
Myself, Dalton Cox. Obviously, John is our special guest today. John, would you like to just tell them a little bit about yourself and your occupation?
So I was a firefighter for a couple years before, and then I most recently decided to become a police officer. I've been doing that for a short amount of time now, and that's what I hope to do probably for the rest of my career until I retire.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. And you had to get there obviously after a lot of training and like investing in yourself, your time and your money. So I think that's really great. So would you say that you had to kind of do a little bit of independent learning as you're going through that process of becoming a deputy?
Yeah, so it's a lot of, obviously they teach you everything you need to know, but it's a lot of not only mindset, of being in that mindset to improve your education, but it's also a lot of studying, and you have to be motivated to get to the end goal, because if you're not, you're going to lose interest, and obviously depends on what your job you're in, and it's not good for any job. You lose interest, and you're just gonna not be very good at your job, whether you were amazing at it before or not. If you don't have that motivation, your performance is going to start to drop, and it all applies the same to schooling. If you don't invest in paying attention and really getting where you want to go, then everything starts to go downhill.
So you talked a little bit about motivation. What is it that motivated you to become a sheriff deputy?
A couple different things. I really wanted, not only, being a firefighter, I wanted to help people, but I also wanted to make a positive difference in people's lives. That's mostly what motivated me, but it's also the personal goal part of it. Obviously, being a police officer it's a larger deal than some other jobs, especially prestigious wise, because it's one of the most powerful positions you can hold in a community, for better or for worse. But it's mostly the helping other people aspect that motivated me the most.
And like beyond helping other people, do you think that it just feels good, or is there like something even deeper for you than that?
It definitely feels good knowing that you have the power to help people, and that you're one of those people in the community that other people can rely on when they need you to. That's definitely a satisfying feeling. Having good relationship with people, even those who, you might have arrested before or had to reprimand for something, being able to make that connection with them and have a good relationship even after the fact, to show them that you're a human too and be friends with them almost, it's a good feeling.
And yeah, that's really interesting, because in my business, even if the prospect that I'm connecting with isn't really a good fit, I still feel like I can make a difference. Even if it's just I have one call with them, I could still provide value.
Yeah.
And because of that, my goal isn't to like always have someone sign up, but it's like, okay, impact, whether they sign up or not, that opportunity is also what kind of motivates me.
Right, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, relationships are essential.
Right.
At work, I work at the YMCA, and I work with campers, and I work with people who work out. And establishing relationship is part of the job description. That way, the members feel comfortable asking you questions, and you can create a customer satisfaction experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like it's a lot like retail, I'm sure. And I found that can apply to a lot of jobs. If you've ever worked a retail job, you're naturally good at talking to people and making connections with people and being able to help them. Even if it was really simple before, you work retail and you talk to people and make that friendship with them, and then you also help them complete their project or find something they need to find in the store. It all boils down to a mindset kind of thing and what you're used to.
And John, you've had some experience in the retail industry, correct?
Yes, yeah. I worked at Home Depot for quite a few years with you, and it definitely helped me in the long run in life, because it gave me the ability to, even some days when I woke up and I just didn't want to go to work, I'd still go to work with that mindset of, I'm going to be nice to people today. I'm going to be the person people can come to and ask questions, and I'm going to be the person who gets everything done that my boss wants me to. Because, being a grouchy person at work is just, it happens sometimes, but being able to keep that mindset it's huge. So.
To be able to overcome your emotions.
Oh yeah. Tell me about it.
By the end of the day, you feel great. Like,
right.
You might feel like crap at the beginning of the day, but by the end of the day, of just constantly grinding and keeping that positive mindset and getting done what you need to get done, it feels good.
For sure. Yeah, and I did work retail. I worked at Michael's before I ran my business, because I was not only building capital but like experience, like you said. Working these customer service type jobs in retail does teach you things in the long term, like, okay, how to not get tangled up in your emotions as you're trying to help someone, even if they might not be an easy person. Like, it's still really valuable. So I agree with you on that. But back to like what really got us started doing the things that we are doing currently. Did you like still have your why as you were learning and as it was like getting tough?
You mean the motivation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, the end goal was always in mind. Sometimes you might have days where you just don't feel like going to work, but remember, hey, I got one more day down. I only got a couple more months to go, and I'm where I want to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can start doing what I want to do. It's all about taking it day by day. Even if you feel like crap one day, just get through that day and get to the next. People easily look at the big picture, like, oh, I got 2 months of this left, or I got a year of this left, or 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, and they just look at that big number and they give up because it's a big number. But if you take it day by day, you'll get through it. And, by the end of it, you would have been counting one day at a time, and it goes by quick.
See, this is something that we mean when we talk about creating a learning schedule. Yeah, if you're going to college, it's going to be a few years before you get your degree. If you're learning independently and you're reading books, you're going to have to take the book a few days at a time, a few chapters at a time. And if you're learning a skill in life, you're going to have to take it day by day, whether it's through a seminar, whether it's through work. So I completely agree with what you're saying, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely helps me, I know, taking things day by day. It keeps me motivated, and it keeps me from psyching myself out and thinking about too much at once.
And speaking of which, feeling this overwhelm that we're talking about, something that really helps, especially when you're learning something independently, is having a learning schedule. Back to the book example. Your job isn't to read an entire book overnight, although you could do that. Well, not everyone, but maybe some people. But about breaking it down into mini goals, 10 pages a day. Or for me in business, if I want to make a sale that week, a $2,000 sale, what I gotta do is connect with 10 different people every day, and I am confident that 1 to 3 of these people will move on to the next level, which is the actual consultation selling, which is a separate topic. We'll get into that in the business kind of theme at the very end of this year. But all that to say is, I'm not waking up on Monday stressing about, oh, I gotta make a $2,000 sale. I just think about, okay, let me connect with as many people as I can, see if I can serve them anyways, and things are going to happen, and they have, and they will continue to do so.
So John, we're really big on every day you're either getting better or you're getting worse. And part of that is educating yourself with all these resources that we have, with books, with the police academy, with seminars, whatever it may be. How have you bettered yourself through education day by day?
So every day I go to work, if I deal with something and I say to myself, I don't know how to deal with this, or I have to look up something, that night I make sure to go back and learn everything I can about what I didn't know that day. And maybe a little bit more. I try to stay up to date, looking at laws and articles, and currently what people think about police, which obviously isn't great, and that's fine. There are, that's a different topic for another day, but and I try to see how I can apply the knowledge I've learned to make me better at my job, especially if I've had trouble with it that day. And I try to go back and fix it and say, hey, if I encounter this situation again, I know what to do next time.
So you mentioned like articles, looking things up. Those are definitely powerful tools. Are you into reading at all?
I've never been about like reading big books or anything like that. I mean, I did in school, but I'm mostly of a short reader. Like I read small articles and stuff like that. I like watching videos on topics. I find it hard to sit still. I don't sit still very well. I'm a very energetic person, so it makes it easier for me to watch a video than it does for me to read a big block of text.
And John, you not liking to read books doesn't stop you from pursuing your education.
Yeah, exactly.
You find other ways to educate yourself, and there are plenty of resources that people can use to be better.
Right. Yeah, you kind of find your own way to do things. Obviously, you're sitting in class, and your instructor probably will force you to read a lot of books and stuff like that, but that's okay. I mean, as long as you retain that information and apply it in your own way that'll make you remember it and learn it easier, then you're good to go. But it's all about how you want to do it and what works best for you.
Definitely. Yeah. And for me, finding resources meant courses and coaching, which the coaching part was scary for me because it was expensive and I did have to borrow money, but luckily I managed to pay it back through working the knowledge that I had, because that was my only option. And that's a great thing too, like when you are fully invested in something, you're gonna feel uncomfortable. When you're finding a resource that takes a lot of time to find or a lot of money, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. And you just gotta keep looking and you're gonna find the best resources, better than you've ever expected. Just find the right format for you and go for it. Commit, be consistent, use a learning schedule. Whether you're utilizing Google Calendar or you like to map things out through a spreadsheet or just in your head, as long as you know where you are and you're hitting those goals, I feel like you can learn anything independently.
I think of a lot of it's like balancing your time for learning with full investment or doing whatever you need to do, and taking some time to I don't want to say like take a break, but
That's good.
yeah, you also have to have times where you disconnect and you take time for yourself, whether it's to work out or work on something else. It's always good to do it in moderation while still getting it done on time early, but also taking some time for yourself to clear your head.
Absolutely. I don't know this because I haven't experienced it. And I would assume that if you're constantly trying to educate yourself every second of the day, it's not going to be that successful. You're not going to be able to retain all that information.
For sure.
You're going to hit a plateau. Exactly. And that's how you get burnt out too. That's how you lose motivation. You got to, like I said, take it a day at a time, right? You got to create a schedule, say, I'm going to study for 8 hours, and then I'm going to take a shower, and I'm going to work out for 4 hours, then I'm going to do this before I go to bed, and I'll figure tomorrow out in the morning. Like, take it a day at a time. You take time for yourself. Whenever it is you want to do that, at the beginning of your day or at the end of the day.
Such a powerful idea, because before I hired my first business coach, I used to like grind. I used to work 8 hours a day nonstop. I never took a day off because in the beginning I just wanted it so bad, and that didn't work in my favor. No, because with my first coach, they told me, hey, you gotta take a day or two off every week minimum, and they said something like, because I take a day off or 2 days off every week, I'm able to accomplish more than I would have in 7 days, because we're not machines, and that's why you need a schedule, because it allows you to take breaks and to pace yourself and to still hit your goals.
Right, yeah. I agree with that. I mean, you might feel like you're doing a lot, but once you go nonstop, everybody has a breaking point, or I don't know, that's a little harsh. They all have a point where they stop being able to perform like they did before.
Yeah, super important topic. Just know your limits. Don't follow what someone says your limits are. Like, you gotta make mistakes. You're gonna get burnt out, but that's gonna be a useful lesson for you for sure. It has been for me.
Right.
Yeah, and just to throw on a little bit onto that, I remember a couple weeks ago, I'm training for the Air Force. I'm trying to get into Special Forces. And so I was going hard. I was carrying 50-pound rucksacks every day, jogging with them, jogging every day, doing calisthenics every day, swimming every day, not getting a lot of sleep because I was constantly trying to push myself to be better. And it was too much. And my body told me so. I got sick from it. And it made me realize that I need to take it slow sometimes. So, your failures and your setbacks are great learning opportunities, which is another resource for education.
Yeah, no one's ever learned something by always getting it on the first try. And if you always get it on the first try, when you make a mistake, it's going to be a really big one. So, another thing is, like, when you make a mistake or you fail at something, don't feel destroyed, right? Obviously, you have to remember, this is what I have to do to avoid that mistake again, but that's the whole point. You got to learn. You got to learn in order to do better. And that's in mistakes and failing. That's how you learn.
Yeah, I mean, another way to learn too is from other people's mistakes. And one thing I really love to do is reading biographies of successful people. Like, for example, I read the famous bodybuilder's biography, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I just learned so much about how to deal with setbacks and how to set expectations, but not really, get lost and not meet those and then feel bad. All these things, great things. So I think stories have a lot of power.
I agree. Yeah, so I know I've talked about him a lot, but David Goggins, read his book, and it's helped me immensely because he's shown me that these things that I think that are, too hard for me to do and even impossible aren't impossible. That people have done them and they do them. They're doing them now, like running 100 miles in one go for 24 hours on. It's possible. So when I'm on my 3-mile run or a 10-mile run or whatever it is, I know that it's physically possible. So yeah, stories have a great impact on that.
Yeah, they could be written or they could be literally like colleagues. Like, for example, in the earlier coaching programs I was in, I literally had people getting coached with me that already are making like $65K a month, which is unheard of. But being surrounded by those types of people and then picking their brains really showed me the limits that society likes to, impose upon us.
Yes.
But there are no limits. Physical, mental, you name it. Financial. Come on. You can do anything.
I remember hearing something about this guy way back when he was trying to break the 4-minute mile, and all the psychologists and, you know, professionals were like, it's not physically possible, humanly possible. And guess what? Hundreds of people have broken it now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In Think and Grow Rich, did I cut you off or something?
No, you're fine.
Cool. In Think and Grow Rich, early in the book, there was a story about the author's son. I think he was born with some sort
Yes.
of disability, mental. No, it was hearing. It was
He
physical.
didn't have ears.
He didn't have ears, and he couldn't hear.
And what the author Napoleon Hill said to himself was, my son will hear. He will be able to hear one day.
Something like that. And he was telling it to his son also,
Yes.
not just to himself. And the doctors were telling him that's impossible. He'll never be able to, hear. But through persistence and belief, it was literally like that was one of the best stories ever. Like, I was so inspired by that.
Yeah, so, as technology advanced and like all these hearing aids were, being manufactured, they learned that you can hear through your bones, like the vibrations in your bones.
Whoa.
So that's how he was able to hear. Interestingly enough, is when I was at the pool one day at the YMCA, I was talking to this guy who was getting out, and he had these earbuds in, and I was like, earbuds in the pool? And then he was telling me, he's like, no, they're bone conductors, and I can hear them like it's in my ear. And it's great when you're swimming because you can hear it with perfect quality. So
That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's
So cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that does it for today's podcast.
Mhm.
Thank you, John, so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
Is there anything else anyone would like to add before we wrap it up tonight?
I know, like, sometimes it's hard to stay motivated, especially if you find yourself wandering in your head. But take it one thing at a time. Honestly, time flies. Keep the end goal in mind and just keep pushing, really. It might be hard mentally or physically, whatever it is, but always push yourself to your furthest limits. Even if you think you've gone as far as you can, go a little bit further.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I would say this too. Learning and having a strong why, like, use that to learn multiple things. Learn to use the skill to really experiment with different things in life. Especially, I know most of you are in high school or maybe even in college. Use the skill of learning independently, finding your why, creating a learning schedule, and finding resources. Use all this to really explore what's possible, because you shouldn't put yourself in a box. You shouldn't let people tell you exactly what you're meant to do, because it's a process of trial and error. And I've found that with myself. Like, I tried accounting, got into accounting a little bit, business obviously, EMT, and dentistry. So I tried these things. I invested in courses. I went to competitions. I got to experience them a little bit. So don't be afraid to use this 3-step formula. Again, finding your why, learning schedule, and resources to really discover what's best for you.
Wow. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks.
All right, guys. So that's a wrap. Thank you for joining our podcast, and we will see you next week.